I've managed over 300 Google Ads campaigns, and a question I often get asked is, do you actually need images in your ads? And I'll explain why you need them based on actual research, and also how to quickly find it and how to add them quickly if you don't know already. So let's do that now. If you're in the main view for your all campaigns, simply go to Assets, click on Assets, and then click on Image. And then you can start to add images to the ad group level or campaign level just from here. Now, I do recommend adding them to the ad group level, not the campaign level, because you might have multiple ad groups selling a different thing, and of course the image needs to relate to the thing you're selling. You know, it could be a product or a service. So for example, if you sell emergency plumbing services and you have a picture of you standing next to a car, then of course those images can convert much higher than a plumber just like fixing a hot water repair or a hot water leak. Now the other way to add them is go into your ads area, go into any responsive search ad, we'll click on this one, scroll down until you find images, and you will need to make sure these images actually relate to the service. So if you find anything's overly polished and it doesn't look right, like this one doesn't look right for an emergency plumber, neither does this, you need to go through and vet them like crazy to make sure it's actually relatable to the niche itself and what someone is searching for. So the example I just said is having a plumber standing next to a car, you know, ready to go clearly, and also these kind of images work well when you've got a plumber actually looking at what he's doing and starting to repair something. Not something that looks tacky here like so, where it looks a little bit over the top, it looks too clean nearly. Anyway, let's get into the actual research and see what studies are saying about adding image extensions. Google's own study found that internally they tested images versus no images, and they found the ones with images had a 6% increase on click-through rate. VWO found that replacing generic images of like icons and things like that and replacing them with real human photos and like less of those illustration type things resulted in 48% more increases in leads coming through. Okay, so that's a huge one, right? And you can read that study, I've left it below. And another one here, after turning on image extensions in the search campaigns, Estee Lauder here saw a 14% increase in return on investment and a 91% increase in click-through rate compared to not having image extensions whatsoever. And it would work better for e-commerce and things that are visually appealing as well. So that's the other argument there. And another study here, London and Caustic, improved their click-through rate from 6.37% and they nearly doubled it to 12.5%. And they saw an overall 35% increase across all their image extensions across all of their ads. So just by rolling out image extensions, they saw a massive increase in the amount of inquiries and of course the results in click-through rate as well. Because the more you increase click-through rate, you're going to improve the amount of customer inquiries coming through or the chances of getting customer inquiries, because essentially you're doubling the clicks that are coming through. And another one here, Sterling Sky added this little green arrow to their images instead of just like call us now sort of thing. You can see that here, which is pretty clever. And what they found is just by adding that to the image extension instead, that they increased the click-through rate from 9.89% and 12.07% up to 16%. I hope that made sense, but that was for a personal injury lawyer. So that's another idea that you could try as well. Just an arrow pointing to the actual ad copy itself. And lastly, there was a psychology study here by a few folks at a university that found that images of faces looking towards the product boosted the attention or the interaction rate and the brand recall than faces staring directly at you, which was kind of weird, but I've seen this. It's called the averted gaze, where you kind of avert your gaze to the side and it has a better conversion rate overall. So those are a few ideas there from the studies to back up why you actually need image extensions for your Google ads, because there are a lot of studies here and I've included all of them. There's heaps more than this that have found that just adding images does boost your click-through rate and leads into better conversion rates as well, because you're usually driving more of those relevant clicks to your site, right? Now, what do you actually show in your images? What are some pointers here? So based on these studies, it's a good idea to use real photos where you can. So real photos of photography or things of just showing real people, because tests show that real people beat illustrations and generic icons, as we've just learned. And then the second one is to show faces and not just bodies. Try to show the actual faces instead of just bodies of people or people like turned away and you can't see their heads or anything like that, because it's less relatable. And people prefer images with facial features in them because they're more appealing and they're more human, right? Try to use images with the averted gaze, so the person's gaze or body is towards the actual product or offer or text, and they're using this to help pull eyes to whatever they're looking at. So we saw the plumber example that they were looking towards the plumbing and the piping and the systems, and it's a lot better than some stocky photo where you've got this woman like, you know, pressing down on this plunger and it looks fake and it looks like out of place a little bit, unless she was a plumber herself, which it didn't look like it. Okay, so the other one while we're on it is to avoid cheesy stock teams and stock photos and things like that. So you can use stock images, you just got to make sure you're very, very particular on which ones you use. Try to use ones that look a little real. They look like real life. There's some flaws in them. They don't look overly polished. It looks like a photo that you could take on your phone, and those will convert better than the overly polished stock photos that you use. Because if you go back to this study here, you will see that if you used obviously staged photos, it can reduce the trust a lot, and trust is the thing that helps you sell stuff, right? So you need to make sure that you're increasing the trust, not decreasing it. You need to match the image to keyword and landing page, so make it all synchronized. So again, what I said earlier, when you've got an image that is unrelated to the thing that you're selling, then it's gonna get worse click-through rates, worse conversion rates, etc. So try to make sure that you're matching everything so that it's on point, okay? So if the ad is emergency plumber, show plumbing, not a random happy family on the other side. Like, don't use random photos like that. Try to be as accurate as possible to the thing that you are selling, and using all of these kind of tips that we've learned just now. And the last thing here is to keep your backgrounds ultra simple. So you don't want to make sure that the background is distracting people from the product or service people are offering. You need to make sure that the face that you have in the photo and the product or the thing that someone is doing or demonstrating or the product itself is the hero of the image. Like, that's the main focus of the image. You don't want people to be distracted by decor and fancy backgrounds and stuff like that. You'd rather blur it out so that the main focus is the actual product and service. So that's it for today. I hope that helps. So if you've got any questions, leave them below. More than happy to help, and I'll see you in the next video.